What's going on, world? Just letting you know that Technically Speaking is on Clubhouse. So if you have access to the application, go ahead and search for Technically Speaking and join the nearly 5,000 members globally every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We talk about a whole range of different topics supplemental to a lot of the themes on the show. We've got folks that are early in their careers, late in their careers, across different industries, all sharing their experiences, expertise, and tips on stage. It's something that you don't want to miss. I personally look forward to having you in the club and seeing you on stage. That's Technically Speaking on Clubhouse. My name is Harrison Wheeler, and this is Technically Speaking. Welcome. Suppose you've remotely been aware of the conversation around diversity across the tech and design industry. In that case, you probably know that Black designers make up 3% of the entire industry. That's it. That was the report that came out of the 2019 AIGA Design Census report. And this is across all design disciplines, right? That's graphic designers, illustrators, web designers, UX designers, a wide sweeping set of roles. This number is also the foundational problem addressed by an initiative turned movement called Where Are the Black Designers? It was co-founded by my guest in this episode, Mitzi Okou. We walk through exciting developments in her career and the origins behind the Where Are the Black Designers movement and what's in the organization's future. When I asked Mitzi about her motivations behind Where Are the Black Designers, this is what she had to say.
I'm focused on providing a space, an opportunistic space for Black designers, because I didn't have that. And that was a very traumatic experience. And I am trying to work at healing and like empowering Black designers and prospective young Black designers so they don't have to go through that again.
Yeah. Welcome to the show.
I am so happy to be here. And it's also so wonderful to meet you as well.
I know. I recorded a show right before this, and I was talking with like two designers that started this organization. And just over the past 6 months, I've just been seeing the moves that they've been making and the strides that they've been making with their org. And I was like, have you guys actually ever met each other in person? And they were like, no. And I was like, this is the age of it. I had this realization also on a work call the other day where we had a bunch of these new hires and like I've been literally working with them, but I have no idea who they are in real life.
Yes, I completely agree. It's weird because it's like a blessing and a curse because I've met so many amazing people digitally, but it's also so weird that I met them digitally and like I know them through just like like the digital space and whatnot. And I know their personalities and I'm like, it's so weird because we don't live there at all.
The silver lining into all of this is it's just broken down the barriers in terms of geographic, regional differences. I even say like, I live in San Jose, but even if there's an event in San Francisco, I mean, that's like an hour and 10 minutes of hopping in traffic, you know?
Yeah. And
so, at the click of a button, we can connect and have conversations and get to know people and learn from people around the world in an instant. So super, super thankful for that. So how are things going? I mean, I feel like it's been a pretty transformative year for yourself.
It's been like a really crazy year. I'm feeling a little bit of like burnout from how crazy everything has been. Because it's just been like hit the ground running since June, since the conference happened. And then I left HP, was like unemployed for a little bit, but was like still focusing on Where the Black Designers very heavily. And then got a new opportunity at Spotify, which is crazy, but it's even crazier because it's in a different country, so I'm having to deal with just like the move and everything, which I'm like not paid or anything, but shout out to Spotify because they've just been like super supportive with connecting me with an agency that's just like, don't worry about anything, you don't have to lift a finger, we're just gonna do everything for you. So that's just
Yeah.
like a relief, in a sense. But I also have like a lot of anxiety about moving to another country, not because it's another country, but because of the pandemic, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, it's great that vaccines are coming out, but it's like, borders are still closed. So I'm like, I'm going to enter another country and I have no idea when I'll be able to like come back. I don't know when I'll be
Yeah.
able to see my friends or when they'll be able to come visit me. So it's just like super weird.
Yeah. And all the other person on the other side of the Zoom call is going to see is a different background.
Yeah. Yeah.
so so what are the types of things that you have to like prepare for when you're moving to another country?
Yeah, so visa, that's like the most important thing. That's kind of
Yeah.
the thing that is like the gateway to other things that I have to do is I have to
Sure.
get my visa first, which I just sent to my application, so I'm waiting for that. And then after the visa, then they're gonna send me this giant shipping container and then just like pack all of my stuff
Yeah.
in there, and then they're gonna ship it over. And then I just talked to someone from the relocation agency that's like, okay, well, you need to get like your residence permit, and then you need to get your tax ID, and then you need your
Mm,
bank account, and then also like we need to get you an apartment because I'm going to be staying in corporate housing. And
yeah.
then we have to like go around and get to know the neighborhood, so we can't do that because of like COVID and everything like
Yeah.
that. So that's it's so much too, and I'm like, how am I gonna start working like with all of this?
And it seems like it's all paperwork for the most part. And I would probably assume it's fairly antiquated. You're not dealing with like, consumer grade, websites that do this. Is that how it is?
So again, they've just been making like really easy. They've just been like, okay, fill out this paperwork and then just send it to us, and then we'll just kind of like do the rest for you, and we'll just like be with you every step of the way. So like
Yeah.
they were saying that like I think Spotify's giving me like a week off maybe to go get my bank account and everything
Sure.
set up, and someone's gonna come with me to like set that all up. So it's like really nice. It's like having your hand being held, but in like the most like educated way and whatnot. So it's still good.
What are some of the things that you're anxious about working on the other side of the pond?
I think for me, I'm more anxious about just like how I'm gonna dedicate my time toward the Black designers. I'm not really worried
Yeah.
about you know, performing well at Spotify. I think I already have that
Sure.
drive and passion in me, and I think that I have a feeling that it's going to be set up that I'm going to grow and just soar and whatnot. But for me, it's like how is my energy going to go towards Worth Black designers
Mhm.
because it's mostly like US based, but there's an opportunity space to expand it to where I'm going to be
Mm.
in Europe and stuff.
Yeah.
But my team is mostly US based. So how am I going to meet with them? When am I going to meet with them? Because
Mm.
it's like a 9 hour, I think an 8 to 9 hour time difference between like California, where some of my team members are, to Sweden. And so like how am I going to do events when I'm just going to be on like the end of the spectrum of just like time where it's just like late.
Right.
So that's one of the things that I'm a little bit worried about. It's just like how to manage that time because it's not just like a passion project. Like it's kind of like
Yeah.
something I want to build and work towards like establishing within like our society.
Yeah.
So just like looking at how that's going to happen, I think is making me a little bit anxious. And even planning next conference because we're going to have a
Right.
conference here for sure. So like planning that all out, what I'm going to do, if things are going to be like open, if it's going to be physical, if it's going to be digital.
Yeah.
Like if it's physical, I need to save up my vacation time so I can dedicate that time to doing all of that and whatnot.
Right. Right. So let's dive into that a little bit. I think Where Are the Black Designers is probably one of the most influential projects of 2020. And, it's definitely garnered a lot of attention. I mean, we're talking about Fortune Magazine, Adweek. I think you've done some collaboration with Adobe, AIGA. Maybe kind of take us through the inception of that project and kind of what motivated you to start it.
Yeah, it's a journey because I think people have a tendency to think that it happened because of just the horrible like murder of George Floyd.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that. Like I was already hurting from that, but that's not what ignited it. It was just like watching all of these companies put up those performative black squares and be like, oh yeah, well we support the black community. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like there's data
Yeah.
out there that shows that like 3% of this entire industry is made up by black people, which means that you're contributing to the fact that there's no diversity within the creative and tech space. And because you're not hiring black people, you're therefore contributing to racial injustice. So I was like, you can't sit there and say that you support the black community, but then like not hire us, which contributes to that racial injustice. So with my personal account, I started like going on like, major companies and design agencies like Instagram account and just like calling them out and be like, hey, like you're contributing to the fact that this industry and this space is predominantly white. Like, what are you doing about that? And some people were just like, yeah, like we were working on projects for like the prison to school pipeline, and it wasn't really answering my question. And so I texted one of my friends from school. His name's Garrett Albury, and he's also a co-founder. And I was like, hey, Garrett, like, do you want to kind of like, try to put together like a small community like discussion about just like racial injustice within the tech and creative space? Because we kind of tried to do something similar at school to kind of like call out just the fact that, it was weird that we were sitting in Savannah, Georgia, which is one of the blackest cities, but there was like no like connection in terms of just like black talent pipeline. And he was like, yeah, sure. And so we were kind of like planning it, like got the website and everything. And actually context to the name of Where the Black Designers, Maurice Cherry presented a presentation in South by Southwest called Where the Black Designers, which is a presentation that I probably watch every year, especially around Black History Month, because I just get angry around that time because, companies are just like, oh, we support the Black community. And I'm like, whatever, no, you don't. Let me go watch this video to make myself feel better. And so back to the story. But yeah, Garrett got the website and everything like that. And I was like, this is the question to ask. Like Maurice asked it and it was a perfect blueprint. He had this perfect presentation that just offered all these solutions. I want to amplify that and ask this same question because it's just the perfect question to ask. And I feel like it's just on everyone's mind. And so we were preparing for it, got the branding assets and everything. And I was like, okay, why don't we just do like a little, poster challenge to promote the event and, just like also do like some type of like digital protest with that. And like, that's like a great idea and whatnot. And we were going to be happy with like 50 or so people. I kid you not, we were like, if 50 people showed up, if 5 people showed up, we were going to be excited about it because we just wanted to talk about this. And I just wanted to know that I wasn't crazy asking this question. So we released the poster challenge and my friends were just like sharing and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, like I get these like messages that are just like, yo.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like they're like, yo, like this is blowing up in IDEO Slack. And your like name is circulating because you did that fellowship and whatnot. And I was like getting messages that were just like, yo, like this person that I follow was like doing your poster challenge and blah, 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 blah. And it got really huge. And we were excited that we hit like 100 followers. We were like, yeah, that's like, And then the number started going up and we started looking at the RSVP list and it jumped from like a few to like 1,000 people. And Garrett and I, we were just like, shit, like.
You're like, is there a Zoom plan that can handle this many people?
Exactly. I was like, Garrett, we were like looking at the Zoom plans and we were just like, okay, let's look at the prices to hold like, I don't know, 1,000 people. And it was so expensive. And I was like, Garrett, we don't have the money for this. Like, we can't pay this out of pocket. And he was like, okay, let's just pause. Let's just block the RSVPs and just like pause them until we can figure it out. And so one of the first people that reached out to us the first few days that we kind of started like trending with our poster challenge was Gary Hustwit, who's the director of that Helvetica documentary. And he was like, hey, like, I really like what you guys are doing. Like, like, do you need help with anything? And like Garrett and I were like freaking out. We're like, yo, this is like Gary Hustwit. Like, And we
This
made,
is like design school coming to life, right?
yeah, and we were just like, this is crazy. And
Yeah.
we were just like discussing it, and we were just like, let's just ask him some production advice. And
Yeah.
so we had a meeting with him. We were like, hey Gary, like, we know you're, a filmmaker and a director. Like, can you give us some like production advice? And he was like, yeah, like, you can make this happen. And out of just nowhere, like an angel sent from above, he was like, you know what? Let me just take care of the production, and you go and focus on the speakers. And I was just like, oh my God, thank
Wow.
you, Lord. And it was great because had we not met Gary, we wouldn't have had such a strong just like list of speakers, because he connected us with Raja, who connected us with Christina, and all of these like other amazing people that we had in the conference. And even if they weren't in the conference, we still like forged some amazing connections and whatnot.
Right.
And so that was great, because as we were making connections, they were leading us to other amazing people. And also some of my friends were connecting me to like other people that were making all of these amazing graphics and stuff like that. So I met Elaine Lopez, who is amazing, and she's also an OG of the Where the Black Designers. And she was like posting all this like amazing data that was also like beautiful,
Yeah.
about just like how white our industry was. And so I connected with her, and eventually she made it to our advisory board, because she was just great. And so that's how that came about. And it was great because so many people reached out to us and like, what can we do to help? Like, we've noticed that you guys ask for Zoom licenses. How many can we provide? And it was great, and it was so wholesome, because there were companies that were just like, we don't have that many Zoom licenses, but we just want to offer as many as we can. And so that was so beautiful, because it was such a community effort. Like, I think Garrett and I like lit the spark, and everyone just like came together because it was a question that needed to be answered, and that Maurice asked but just did not garner enough attention.
Ever have an idea of starting a podcast? I had one for quite a while before I took the leap and started Technically Speaking. Anchor.fm made it easier than ever. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast, and it has everything you need in one place. Let me explain. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone, tablet, or computer. It handles all of your distribution so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Did I mention it's free? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Right.
And so we came together, and then even during that, Cheryl D. Miller kind of like reached out to us. She's like, you have to make sure that you're not stealing anybody's work, because we weren't trying to steal Maurice's work. We just wanted to amplify it, because he was so great at asking this question. And so I probably spent like 3 to 4 hours a day with Cheryl for, I think, a few days or like a week, about her telling me and like guiding me, like, okay, you have a huge microphone, the hugest that we've ever seen as a Black design community. Like, you need to say a few things and just say it super well. And I think that advice was great, because we were already doing too much, I would say. But when she stepped in, she's like, you're doing too much, and you just need to just simplify it. And just
like too much in regards to what?
Like, we were going to have like different breakout rooms. We were going to have different disciplines. Like, it wasn't going to be just only about design. It was going to be about like fine art and like literature. And it wasn't focusing on the question of where are the Black designers.
Sure.
So she was like, you're doing too much. Just make it super simple. Just make it super streamlined. And so we took things back, just like streamlined it, looked at the logistics, and we were just like, okay, we're just going to have like a 5-hour conference, and we're just going to like talk about like these things in regarding to design. And so that's how we came about it. And I think because I wasn't really connected to the Black design community, I was kind of like, okay, I'm just going to, make my tribe. And because we have a huge microphone, just like, and try and introduce like a new wave of just like Black designers. So that's why we had some designers from like Ethel's Club. So that was Vanessa Newman and their initiative for Design to Divest. I had my friend Shabnam Kashani, who presented that great presentation about like algorithms and how just like ancestral bias from white people has made its way down to modern technology. Highlight, what a major design agency like IDEO is like doing, and just kind of like make an awareness about just kind of like the Black experience of becoming a designer, and just kind of like shining that light specifically mostly to allies, while also telling Black people just continue what you're doing, like you're doing great. And then just like doing that. So that's kind of like how that came about.
Yeah, well, look, I will say from the outside, it looked very well organized, and that you were prepared to have it was like YouTube had like 14,000 views the last time I looked.
Yeah. Yes.
Like in terms of the production and just seeing all of the organic, where the Black designers like Instagram posts. I mean, it was very, very, I think it was moving, to be honest with you. And I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. And so I think it was particularly moving when people were coming to me and asking me, like, yo, have you heard of this? It almost felt very mysterious. And I
Yeah.
was like, ooh, I like this. I like this. Um,
Yeah.
but I think like one of the points that I want to kind of maybe dive into that you had mentioned earlier was about the performative side of things, right? Because for instance, like I wrote an article like right around the death of George Floyd, right? And I think for me that was really just a culmination of just everything that's been happening in the past, right? It's like you have these things happening around you, but yet you walk into an environment where no one talks about it, where you're not represented. And then additionally, when it comes to the design ethos of a company, it's all about equity and diversity and empathy, but we don't see this being performed from an institutional perspective, right? And so, and this is not one of those things I'm going to put on you, because I don't think it's actually, the work is actually on the institutions to make change. And so, out of a lot of the effort that you've done, have you had any conversations with some of these institutions that are starting to make a change driven by these efforts?
That's funny that you say that, because and I don't even know if I should be saying this, but it's like I just recently had a conversation regarding an incident with my school. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design, and I was talking with someone about just kind of like their efforts, but I was like low key saying that like, you guys aren't really doing enough, because some of your actions are going against like the work that you're kind of like doing, and it's rubbing some people in your Black student population and your Black student alumni network the wrong way. So it's just like, I haven't been talking to institutions because in a way, like, part of me, and this might be controversial to say, but part of me doesn't care to talk to some of these institutions. And sometimes part of me doesn't even care to like answer their emails, because I'm just like, I'm not going to help you with your mess, because I'm focused on providing a space, an opportunistic space for Black designers, because I didn't have that. And that was a very traumatic experience. And I am trying to work at healing and like empowering Black designers and prospective young Black designers, so they don't have to go through that again.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of like, it's like I don't really want to hear it, and I don't really want to help you. And it sounds bad, but it's just like, part of me doesn't want to go back to my school and be like, yeah, like I had a great experience, and join their alumni network to like help them with a problem that they created and are also, or did contribute to. I'm like, that's your mess. You kind of need to figure that out. The best I can do if I'm in a really nice mood is like point you to somebody that can, talk about their experience, so that you guys can learn from that. So yeah, I haven't really talked to any institutions, because again, that's just like not really my problem. It's like their mess to clean up, and I don't want to be using the platform to like be a band-aid for them, and like put Black designers in a institution or a company for the sake of a diversity check and just like put them in a traumatic environment. I think that would be going against what I believe in and like what the mission statement is. So yeah, just like only focus on that
Yeah.
space and making it pleasant for everybody.
Yeah. And I'd be really interested, and I don't know if you've had these types of conversation, what experiences have been for Black folks outside of the United States? Is it some of the same things? Is there a difference? Is there a different approach in terms of kind of how people get organized in other countries? Like, are you starting to see these types of things?
I think I'm starting to see things come out of the woodworks
Yeah.
because I remember having our first meet and greet. And
Hmm.
I remember just like I think there was a part where like people from America were asking questions to our UK population because they're kind of like
Mm.
the biggest
Yeah.
European population.
Yeah.
And we were kind of explaining that, like, yeah, we kind of go through the same thing, but I think a little bit worse because
Mhm.
not like here where it's in your face and people are very like loudly outspoken. It's like no one seems to like talk about it there. Um and so yeah, it's really interesting. And even then I remember after the conference I was like getting messages from people in Europe that were just like, I loved seeing this because I was the only Black person in this environment. And I just really loved the fact that I was seeing people that were just like talking about exactly what I was going through.
Mm.
So that's just kind of like what I've received so far. And I'm so glad that there's where the Black designers to kind of like have all types of people or all types of Black people from different places come to this space and just be
Yeah.
like, there's a community and you can emote and just like be who you want to be and like know that like you're not alone and going through all of this. But then also it makes me happy because this whole community just proves that Blackness is just like not a monolith and that
Mm.
like just there's like it's like what Kelly Walters just recently posted or like said in the Fast Company article that there's not like one Black perspective. There's like a diverse Black perspective or like there's like a diverse amount of Black perspectives and that we need to respect that. So
Mm.
that's kind of like what I really like about that space.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's next?
Oh, I don't know if I should share what's next because we have like a lot of amazing things planned that I want
Sure.
to keep under wraps that I'm really, really excited about. But I think in terms of like what's next overall in the general sense, we're just still trying to expand. We're always trying to showcase Black talent through just like different collaborations. So we did a Bagu collaboration, we did an Urban Outfitters collaboration. And I think we have a few collaborations coming up that I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
But always amplifying, just doing, events. I mean, we still have so much work to do. It's
Sure.
not like, because this space exists that everything's just like solved. Like we're seeing like a lot of things with like mental health and wellness and how
Yes.
to kind of like tackle that. Like we're
Yep.
still seeing, like a lot of um, Black people in our community just like, struggling to get, employment. But again, we don't want to put them in like a weird position where we're
Mm.
just gonna push them in a traumatic situation, but like trying to like revamp the experience of them acquiring a job and making sure that they're going to the right place. So we're trying to like look at how we can revamp our website so it's just like more pleasant and that they're getting more direction and getting to the right
Mm.
place. We're trying to, so recently, someone named Jordan made some fire t-shirts for us to make some fundraising for our community. So we're going to be using that as like seed money to basically um, do like a community digital education teaching center. Um,
Awesome.
and we're working with like some initiatives like Design to Divest. They're a really cool crew to kind of like build that up and whatnot. And so that's kind of like the little things that we have.
Yeah. It's super exciting.
Yeah.
And the shirts are amazing. I actually bought one and it's very high quality.
Yeah.
Um, I love rocking it. So I'm glad I was able to take part in that. But The design community it's not just a job, right? It's a full experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really glad that you're able to facilitate these conversations, because I think it is something that many of us have been dealing on our own, right? And I think the trauma from that, has many side effects from an anxiety perspective, burnout, and I think being able to have a successful career, be able to empower communities allows you to invest in those communities overall and contribute to the society at large. So it's great to see that these conversations are starting to evolve, and uh, it's great to just see that it's happened in such an organic way with this crazy acceleration, given all of the hurdles of this past year. So big ups to you with that. How can people learn more about where the Black designers and get involved?
We mostly communicate through our Instagram. We do have a Twitter, but
Sure.
we're really bad at maintaining that, and that's honestly a scary place.
Yeah.
But we mostly communicate a lot of things through Instagram and like our website. And I
Yeah.
think just like general, if you want to get to like a general feeling of what we're about, our entire conference is online, and we just wrapped up our back to school fall series, which I actually need to finish editing some of the videos, but it has some just like great education videos on just like things from the history of Black graphic design on to just like designing to divest and what is considered to be good design, like highlighting, just like Black work, like Miles Wilson, who's an amazing photographer, and just like his experience of being a Black photographer, especially during this time where our nation is like extremely polarized. So that's kind of like where you can like know about us, and I try to make myself open so people can contact me, even though
Yeah.
I'm so bad at responding. But you have to bear with me. I really try to be like very accessible to like people because I think it's just like really important. So that's kind of like where you can like learn a lot about us. And then I mean just generally our Slack too, like just see what's like going on, like come to our events and stuff like that. And yeah, that's just it. It's just like a low key thing. It's not like high pressure or like elite or anything like that. Like we're
Yeah.
so down to earth, and we really try to make ourselves like accessible to whomever and whatnot. I do, however, I will say that I'm more biased to um talking more to Black people than like allies and stuff, because that's kind of like my main focus.
Sure. Awesome. So here, let's do a few quick fire questions before we wrap up.
Okay.
So what is one thing that gets talked about too much in the design industry that needs to get put to bed?
Oh my god, what gets talked about too much? I want to say the diversity problem. I'm like, I want to hear more about solutions to the diversity problem than the actual diversity problem, because as Black people already know that. So I'm like, just
Yeah.
put that to bed and just show us some solutions.
Yeah. What's on top of mind that you've been reflecting on for the past year?
The biggest thing is, how do I kind of alter my design process so I'm not contributing to white supremacy?
Hmm.
So unlearning a lot of like my design education curriculum.
What do you do on your free time to gain your own headspace?
Ooh, I eat a lot of food. Don't be like phased by like how skinny I am. I love food so much. So that's on. I'm usually just like eating a lot of food, watching Netflix, or listening to music.
What is the last movie that you enjoyed on Netflix?
The last, I feel like I'm so ashamed to say it, but
Uh-oh.
because I watch some trash TV
There's
shows.
a lot of trash.
There's so much trash. But to make myself a little bit cool, the last thing that I watched was this anime series called The Great Pretender, because it's like it has some like jazz in the background.
Mm,
It's like crazy, and the style's just like really fascinating. And I love the illustration. So that was the last thing that I watched.
yeah. All right. What's on repeat on the playlist?
Ooh, right now,
I mean, this is great in fashion for Spotify, right? So,
right? What's on repeat right now? I don't know why I just became obsessed with this song. It's called Dapper by Anderson .Paak and who else?
mhm.
I think it's like Domo or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's on repeat.
I mean, I can rock with Anderson .Paak anytime. So that's awesome.
It's,
Is there anything you want to leave with the listeners before we end the show?
um, yes, I always, say this because I'm a huge advocate for this, but just like support Black talent, just like a general thing. It's just like really important. It's so beautiful. It's so powerful. And I think it just needs to be one taken seriously more and just like really nurtured and amplified because again, it's just one of those things that's like indescribable. And I'm so broke right now because I've just been buying prints from Black designers because I just love it. But I do need to save money though for this move. So yep. But yeah, support Black talent. That's just the most important thing to me.
Dope. Thank you so much, Missy. This was very enjoyable conversation and wishing you best of luck on the move. And I can't wait to see what comes down the line for Where the Black Designers.
Yeah, it was a pleasure being here. It was so fun.
Enjoy this episode? Be sure to hit the subscribe button on whatever podcast platform that you use. You can also subscribe to my newsletter at harrisonwheeler.com for the latest industry insights, new article posts, and announcements of future guests on the show. Once again, thanks for listening to this episode of Technically Speaking. I'm your host, Harrison Wheeler, and I'm out.